So, I want to address something that Sam Harris brought up in both the first and the second of the Pangburn debates. Okay, so Sam Harris made the argument that Hindus don't believe in evil in the same way that Christians believe in evil, a billion Hindus. So that undermines Jordan Peterson's argument that humans have evolved, the human brain has evolved to see the world along two axes: good and evil, order and chaos. Okay, is it true that Hindus don't see evil in the same way that Christians see evil? Yes. Is this a relevant point to Jordan Peterson's argument? No. No, it's not relevant at all. And it was used, at that time, Jordan Peterson was really on a roll. He had just gone through in the first debate, he had just given his definition of God, which I thought was really I thought he knocked it out of the park with that. And he was on a roll, and his worldview was kind of like coming into form, and Sam Harris just had to knock it, tried to knock it, derail that train that was going, and he used that Jordan Peterson's argument couldn't be valid because Hindus don't see evil in the same way that Christians do. Okay, yes, that's true, but Hindus absolutely do see evil in the way that Jordan Peterson sees evil, in the way that Christians see evil, but they also see another dimension to it. So let's talk about that. Why that argument doesn't make any sense. Why it's not a counter to Jordan Peterson's worldview. Okay, so Hindus see good and evil as opposites that both exist in the material creation. So they don't exist outside of the material creation. They're part of the conditioning elements to the conditioned soul inside the material world. Not only our world, but all of multiple universes. They also see good and evil. They see something that transcends good and evil. So you can be karmically attached to good in the same way that you can be karmically attached to evil. That's karma yoga. Doing good things is called karma yoga, where you're basically attracting good things to you, right? You're still stuck in the material world, but the thing that's binding you is goodness as opposed to ignorance or evil. So, actors in the world, evil is seen as a real thing in the material world. They talk about rakshasas and asuras as basically demons that exist in the world that are here to try to create suffering. Oftentimes it's used as like to juxtapose like good people and evil people who are creating suffering and people who are trying to create spread goodness in the world, very much like Jordan Peterson's talking about. Jordan Peterson is not talking about a transcendent quality of the world where good and evil doesn't exist. He's talking about action in the world, right? And Hindus absolutely believe that evil exists in this world, and so does good. So the fact that they have an additional concept of evil as not existing in the transcendent reality or in the true nature of the spirit soul does not mean to any extent that Jordan Peterson's view of evil is not dead on with the Hindu worldview of evil. This is a tactic that I see a lot of atheists use, where they try to say, well, your religion, and this religion are different, and therefore that means neither one of them have any validity to them. Yes, they came out of different places, they had different spiritual teachers that revealed them, they have different elements of this ritual or that ritual, but the core of, I grew up a Hindu, and I see just through Christianity, I see a lot of just sameness. Hindus, if you've ever been to India, and you see all the devotional altars they set up, they will very often have a little picture of Jesus on it. They don't see the contradiction. So I don't know what you're trying to say, Sam. Also, it's because people are describing it in different ways. It's sort of like when people have a spiritual experience, drug-induced or otherwise, like if they take DMT and they have this profound experience that changes their life, and they come out of it and they don't know what to say because we're trying to use language to describe some of this profound spiritual experience. So if you have people from different cultures on different parts of the world with different languages and different traditions, and they're both trying to explain and express this spiritual experience, they're doing it in very different ways. But it doesn't mean that then disqualifies both experiences. If I have a spiritual experience, let's say we both take DMT, I do and you do, my experience differs in form and what happens in the spiritual experience. And then you have yours, and we talk about them. And in mine, very different. I saw very different things, and maybe I had a bit of a different flavor of the experience as yours. It doesn't mean that neither of our experiences are then valid because there were differences in them. So I find it to be a very disingenuous. I think Sam knows better, to be honest. He uses the example of Ravana in the Ramayana as well, where Ravana turns out that he's actually just that close to being enlightened, or is actually an enlightened being, and he is the villain. He's the 10-headed demon who steals Sita from Rama in the Ramayana, and so he's the villain, and it turns out he's actually an enlightened being. You can't use the divine plays of Hinduism to try to draw a correlation with evil existing in the world. Hindus, or many of them, see their divine dramas, their divine, their myths, their stories. They see them as happening in the world, but that's not really the key element. They're seen as happening, like being reflected in the world, but existing beyond the world. They're always happening. They're always true. Maybe there was a reflection of them in the world 5,000 years ago, or whatever they might tell you, but it's absolutely unimportant to the reality of them. And in these divine stories, you'll have the avatars of God maybe kill this demon or fight against this usurper or something, and Krishna will kill some demon, and it turns out that the demon always is some incredibly spiritual person who was taking the form of the demon just to interact with God in the divine play. It's almost like it's an honor to be the villain in the divine play, that you get to come in personal contact with God, with Krishna, right? You try to eat Krishna's friends, and then Krishna kills you. It's an honor to be in that role, right? It's like they were lining up for who gets to be the villain in the play. They're really seen as like divine plays. So you can't take that and then try to say, because the villains turn out to be advanced spiritual beings, that means there's no evil in the world. He brought it up, Sam Harris brought it up in the first debate, he brought it up in the second debate, and Jordan Peterson just doesn't know enough about Hinduism to be able to be like, whoa, that's a claim. Hold on, did you just say that Hindus don't believe in evil? Let's back that up a little bit. Can you give me some evidence of that? Like, what a ridiculous claim. So anyway, please, if Jordan Peterson, if you watch the video, I think it would probably be a good idea if you get some time. You're super busy, I know that, but really look into the Hindu stories, the Hindu epics, and get an understanding, because what you're talking about, what Jordan Peterson's talking about, maps on very well with the Hindu stories, maps on very well with the Hindu stories. Now, obviously, like I said, there's differences, and they see a transcendent reality. Oh, one other thing I wanted to say was, yeah, there is a difference in so much as that, like, Christians seem to see, like, spiritual evil and spiritual good. So there's, like, the devil is existing on this heightened reality, this the same level as God, right? Like, they're both spiritual entities, and one is evil and one is good, and there's this spiritual battle between good and evil. Whereas, so that is different than the Hindu view, that it's more of like a material battle of good and evil, and that the spiritual realm stands outside of that. But it doesn't lessen the impact for everything in the material world. So I just really wanted to make that clear, and if someone uses that argument, then you'll know how to respond to it. Thank you for watching.